Hey there draft fans, LB3 here, and I am back again with another draft profile video. In our last video we took a Tulane wide receiver, Darnell Mooney. He was really brought to my attention with a strong combine performance, and after checking out his tape I wanted to make a video highlighting him and his potential. My final video is debating between several players, and because I couldn't make a final decision, I posted a poll on my Twitter, and so I'm doing a video on the winner of that poll. LSU linebacker Patrick Queen is who this video is on. Queen is a divisive prospect who only began starting in 2018, but continually improved as the year went on, before having an insane run of great play in the college football playoffs, culminating in a great game against Clemson. After that game against Clemson, Queen rocketed into first-round discussions. Now, is that jump warranted, or did Queen rise based off the play from one game? Let's take a look at the film to try and find out the answer. Just like usual, we'll get started with taking a look at his athletic profile using Player Profiler. The first thing I wanted to show is that Queen is a bit of a smaller linebacker. He is 6 foot, 230 pounds, which is a bit undersized, but not so bad he can end up being successful, of course. His lack of size and length could hurt him in coverage at times or in shedding blocks, but overall he seems to deal with it well. Of course, he ran very fast for a linebacker at 4'5". He should be able to stick with just about everyone in coverage, and that speed shows up plenty when he is blitzing or sprinting to the sideline to attempt to make a play. He has a good burst score with above average jumps. Like his speed, his burst definitely shows up on the field as well. We didn't get any agility attempts for Queen, but he has very good hip fluidity, so I think they would have been very good. The only concern for Queen based off his athletic profile is his size, as he is slightly undersized. However, altogether it is a good profile that is exactly what NFL teams look for in modern day linebackers. Now we are done talking about his athletic profile, and it is time to move on to his strengths and weaknesses. Queen has a lot to like on his tape, and I was very excited coming off of watching him, other than one big concern that has me very hesitant to go all in on him. That'll have to wait for later in the video though, so let's dig right into the strengths with how good he is at getting through trash, shedding blocks, and making plays in the run game. I'm not hesitant to mention how much more important I think coverage is, but I still want my favorite prospects to be good at everything, and Queen is great against the run. He's able to move quickly side to side and locate the player with the ball before closing and making a play. He uses his burst to avoid blocks and also seems to have a good feel for how to manipulate blockers to allow him to make plays in the run game. Overall, there isn't much about Queen I would change in regard to how he plays the run. Fantastic at taking on blocks and finding the ball before bursting to it. I have two plays for this. In the first play, he charges in and meets the blocker before shedding the block to get outside and seal the edge and eventually make the tackle. The second play is a great example of his savvy. He runs to the gap, squares up like he's going to meet the blocker, then just bursts past him to make the tackle on the running back. The next strength that we're taking a look at ties in well with his athleticism, which is that he is a sideline to sideline linebacker with elite speed and burst. We already talked about this when talking about his athleticism, but it is so key to his evaluation, it of course deserves more mention. Queen is essentially the prototype of modern day NFL linebackers with his speed and burst to cover outside runs, blitz effectively, cover running backs and tight ends in the passing game, basically everything the elite linebackers do in today's NFL. There really isn't much to say about this, so let's just dig into the plays. On the first play, the run ends up going to the opposite side of where he started. With his speed and athleticism, he's able to work his way all the way over to the other side and help clean up the play. On the second play, he's just blitzing, but I always love looking at blitzes as great examples of how to see how quickly players can burst through and close, and you can see the athleticism for Queen as he nearly gets the sack. The final strength that we're taking a look at is his at least minimal experience in coverage, more zone than man, but still. Unlike his fellow top linebacker in Kenneth Murray, Queen is expected to drop back and work in zones at times. He also would man up against opposing tight ends and running backs occasionally, especially running backs on wheel routes. Being able to cover running backs and tight ends is a key responsibility for today's linebackers. Not only does Queen have the athleticism to do it, he also has some experience in doing so from LSU. He is still a bit of a work in progress as he could work on his instincts in zone, but he has a nice foundation and there's no reason to believe he couldn't build on it into the future. On the first play, he sticks with the running back coming out of the backfield, and while he contacts him a bit, it isn't something that would be called, and I love how casually he is able to just hang with the running back. On the second play, I thought I would just show the kind of coverage responsibilities LSU entrusted him with. He starts at the line looking ready to blitz, but he ends up dropping way back into a deep zone that most college linebackers aren't very used to coming into the NFL. Now we're done with the strengths, we're moving on to the weaknesses. The first one I have some clips for, but it is not as major as the second one, which I don't have clips for, unfortunately. The first weakness that we are taking a look at is he occasionally bites on fakes. Like I said earlier, he is generally good at finding the ball and closing, even not biting on several fakes to make a play that no one else is ready to. However, also a couple of times he bit slightly too much and ended up giving up a big play that could have been prevented if he was in a better position. Despite mentioning this as a weakness, I would say the positives far outweigh the negatives in terms of his ability to read and react. On this first play, the quarterback runs to the right like he's going to throw or run with it, and Queen goes with him, but after the ball is handed off to the running back, Queen is not in the place he should be to make the play. On the second play, he just flows slightly too much with Hurts as he fakes the handoff and is not in a position to stop or slow down Hurts as he runs out of the backfield. Now moving on to the final weakness, it's the single biggest thing that I'm concerned about with Queen. And like I mentioned earlier, it is something that I do not have a play for because it isn't something a play could really encapsulate. That is his lack of production, his poor analytical profile. Obviously, some may be saying that it is silly to knock him so heavily for something like that. The hard truth, though, is that not very many linebackers have production like Queen's in college and then go on to be great linebackers in the NFL. Most of the good to great linebackers in the NFL were also very productive in college. Queen's solo tackles per game and solo tackle market share are both bottom tier, which is a big concern for his future in the NFL. I'm a big fan of Queen on tape because I think he is great against the run, great blitzer, and has some really good flashes in coverage. The question is, where do I weigh all that talent that I like with his poor analytical profile? Because for him to succeed with that profile, he would need to be an outlier, which is something I normally don't like betting on. So moving on, where do I weigh that talent along with his poor analytical profile? I'm a big Queen fan in terms of his play. In terms of his on-field play, he's easily the top pure linebacker in this class for me. I think based off play alone, he also would have been my top linebacker in last year's class too. However, Queen succeeded to be an outlier in the NFL, which personally is something I don't like betting on the NFL draft. I think in this case, though, with the potential that he has, I would consider Queen anywhere outside the top 20. If I'm a top 20 team, it's too big of a concern. There's other guys I can get that have the athleticism, the tape, and the profile. So if I'm out in the top 20, I'd prefer not to take it. Maybe if I have a big need at linebacker. It's a big risk taking someone with the profile like Queen even as high as outside the top 20. But I'm a big fan of his talent. As a Bengals fan, I would be ecstatic if the Bengals were able to get him at pick 33. And honestly, I'd be okay if they traded up to the mid-20s to take him. I think he's an extremely talented player, and if anyone can overcome their poor production profile, I think that it's Queen. I think that he has potential to be a great linebacker in the NFL. For anyone who listened and enjoyed, make sure to subscribe as there will be a lot more of these videos coming. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave a comment and I'll try to respond to everyone. This video on Queen was done because he won a Twitter poll that I ran to try and narrow down which player to make my last pre-draft video on. And yes, you heard that right. This will be my final video before the draft. Obviously, it's coming out the day of the draft, which after the grind of doing one of these a day for the past week and a half pretty much, I think I will take a short break from videos. Sometime in the next 2 weeks or so, though, I will be back to making draft videos, although I'm not sure of what yet. I'm going to try to do about one a week throughout one or a week or two consistently throughout the summer until the season, and then we'll reevaluate from there. But keep an eye out for my next video coming soon. I think I would like to do it on the draft classes, but I'm not sure. I'm definitely going to bring back the Intro to Scouting series. I'd like to bring back the Talking Quarterback series. Maybe we can start looking at next year's quarterbacks if I can get Chase to come back after kind of leaving him dry last time. But keep an eye out for all that stuff coming soon. Thank you very much. This has been LB3 Scouting, and there will be a lot more great stuff coming.